Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time seeing my face, welcome. My name is Lauren. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. So if you are a regular watcher of my channel, you know that my normal upload schedule is Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I usually post beauty content. But it's Sunday, so something is different, and that's because I'm starting a new series here on my channel that's a little bit different from what you're used to seeing from me. So as some of you may know, when I am not obsessing over makeup and trying out new products and skincare and testing and reviewing things for you guys, I am actually a life coach. I primarily work with women to help empower them and take control of their lives and basically live with more joy, more purpose, more ease, all that good stuff. And largely up to this point, I've kind of kept those two worlds very separate from each other, and I've been thinking a lot about how I can change that and bring them together, because obviously as a women's life coach and with being a beauty influencer, there's a lot of overlap between my clientele, and I think a lot of you guys that enjoy my beauty videos might get a lot out of some of the ideas and the inspiration that I have as a coach. So I want to share that with you if you can benefit from it, and that's why I want to start this series. So my hope is that every Sunday we can sit down together and discuss some kind of thought-provoking topic. I can share something positive, maybe something that will challenge you to open up your mind a little bit, that can help you grow as a person, help you live your best life, help you start your week out with a little bit more intention and just a little bit more oomph, you know, like when you feel really, really good, when you feel really inspired, it helps you to be motivated, it helps you to feel connected, it helps you to feel just more one with the people around you. So those are the vibes that I want to start sending your way, and I figured adding that on as like a little extra weekend bonus for you guys might be a lot of fun. And because of course this is still a beauty channel, one of the things that I've been trying to be better about lately is painting my nails. I've mentioned this numerous times if you've been watching my videos, and I've been starting to be better about it. Since I did my nail polish declutter, I've kind of been painting my nails more regularly. But I thought, you know, as a coach, it's always good to be accountable and to walk your talk. So I said, all right, I'm going to set a goal. And if I tell myself every Sunday when I sit down to film this video, if I'm going to sit down and paint my nails, I can wait for them to dry while I chit chat with you guys and send some love and positivity your way, we both will win. So right now my working title for this series is Manis and Musings, like manicures and musings, because we're going to sit and chat about life while I paint my nails. Although to be honest, today I painted my nails off camera because I kind of felt like I wasn't really sure how this was going to go, and I didn't want to be sitting and staring at my hands the entire time. I want to like talk to you guys. So I just finished painting them. We are using the shade London by Julep. It's this really cool purple color. So we're good. I'm 1 for 1 right now with the manicures, but hopefully each week I can keep up with it and let you guys know about some new cool nail polishes as I try them out. So to kick off this series, I wanted to talk about a book that I'm currently reading. You may have seen this because, as it says on the cover, it's a New York Times bestseller. So this is called The Book of Joy, and basically it is the recorded conversations between the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu over the course of a week, discussing the topic of how you can find joy in a world that's full of suffering. And it's a very, very enjoyable read. If you haven't ever checked it out, I would highly recommend it. I think it's very simply written, it's very straightforward, very accessible to basically anyone, and there's a lot of good stuff in here. Like, I think that if you were to really take this book to heart and try to live true to what they are saying, you would be a changed human. You would truly live a life with a lot more joy in your heart, and who doesn't really want that? So in this book, obviously I'm not gonna like, you know, spoil the whole thing for you. There's a lot of good stuff in here, but basically the second half of the book talks about the 8 pillars of joy, which are perspective, humility, humor, acceptance, forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and generosity. So basically the idea is that if you want to live a joyful life, the idea is not to go out and just be like, my goal is to be happier. If you focus on those 8 qualities and living them in your life, joy is kind of the natural byproduct of that. So today I wanted to specifically talk about one of those 8 pillars because it's kind of like the first one. What did they say in the book? They described it as The skull key that opens all of the locks that imprison our happiness. I love that. Because I feel like as a coach especially, the more you talk to people, this tends to be one of the most immediate game changers in terms of working through anger and frustration and just kind of complicated emotions. So that first pillar is perspective. So perspective is not only our lens, it's not only the way that we see the world, but it's our understanding of the fact that other people have a different lens from us. And you know, we've all heard it before, that kind of old adage of you shouldn't judge someone unless you've walked a mile in their shoes. And while I think the intention of that saying is good, I think a lot of people misunderstand it a little bit and misuse it in such a way that actually ends up causing them to be more angry and more frustrated with people. So let's take a moment and think about this literally, like as if your best friend had a pair of shoes and you were going to walk a mile in them. Odds are your experience of wearing their shoes, unless they happen to be exactly the same size that you normally wear or a style of shoe you normally wear, it's probably not going to feel for you the way that your friend feels when they put on those shoes. And the entire idea of walking a mile in someone else's shoes is really more about understanding that person's perspective. It's about putting yourself in their lens and seeing the world through their eyes to better understand their experience. And what a lot of times I find people do instead is they put themselves in someone else's experience, as in they take their mind, their perspective, their personality, their preferences, everything that makes them them, and they imagine themselves in the other person's situation and they say, well, if this was me, this is how I would feel and this is what I would do. And the problem with that is you're not them. So how you might feel in the exact same situation could be completely different than the other person you're trying to make peace with. If ultimately the point of putting yourself in someone else's shoes is to better understand them, to connect with them, to create empathy, and to reduce anger and frustration of feeling like you don't understand why a person is behaving a certain way or why a person made certain choices, what you need to do in that moment is step out of your own truth and step into theirs and kind of try to understand, what did that situation mean for that person? What was going on for them? Who are they? And why does whatever happening matter? What does it look like in their world? Because it may be very different from yours. And in that respect, perspective is more about creating mutual understanding of the meaning and the feeling and the experience than it is about actually judging the situation or a person's specific actions. And I think that sometimes it's just easy to fall into that trap of looking at a choice a particular person made and not thinking that it makes sense, being very critical of it because we ourselves would choose something different based on our own lives and our own experiences. But a lot of times if we can see where the other person was coming from, who they are, and how that choice made sense for them in the moment, we can feel more empathy for that person. We can feel less frustrated towards them. We can feel less angry at them, and it gives us space to actually connect and communicate. And really, when you look at a lot of the problems that we have in this world today, I think a lack of perspective taking is largely to blame for a lot of that, because everywhere you go it feels like everybody is judging everything for everything that they do, because everybody is stuck in their own perspective, and every time they try to put themselves in someone else's life, but they're forgetting that this is a different person and that what makes sense for them may be different for me. And really the better thing to do is try to understand where that person is coming from. What are their values? What are their beliefs? What makes sense for them, or why was something important to do, or what maybe was the driving factor in the choices that they made. One of the things we talked about when I was going through IPEX training was this idea of the little t truth and the big T truth. And this has stuck with me, and I think it's a great way of explaining this kind of phenomenon. So we all have our own little t truth. That is, we all have our own perspective on what is true in the world. And that is largely influenced by our experiences, by what we see, by who we are, by our personalities. But we have to understand that it's a little t truth. It is not necessarily 100% accurate to what is the big T truth all of the time. The big T truth is the absolute, unequivocal, actual, factual truth of what is happening. And there are a lot of times in life where we never really get to know what the big T truth is. And I think that's hard for a lot of people. And we as humans, just like the way our brains work, we like to know, or we like to believe that we know what is going on. So that's why we really cling to our little t truth, because that's what we assume is what is really happening in our world, in our minds, in our communities around us. But if we can learn a little bit about taking perspective and can learn to separate ourselves from that little t truth for a moment and see it for what it is, we can start to appreciate that there may be other possibilities of reality of what is going on. And when we talk about perspective and this compulsion that we have to like judge other people for the things that they do or the things that they believe or the things that they say, you know, sometimes what we're looking at is what's true for us, and based on our perspective, we assume certain things about this other person, when in reality, what may actually be true might be something completely different. And ultimately, to me, the point is not even necessarily to be so hung up on figuring out the capital T truth. It's more important just to acknowledge the fact that what you see and what is in your kind of limited perspective may not be always the whole story or the entire truth or the accurate truth. Ultimately, I think the take-home point to remember when it comes to perspective is to truly be open to the possibility that you don't necessarily know everything, that you're not necessarily always right, and that's totally fine. Ultimately, if you love yourself, if you have some level of security in yourself, it's really not that scary to be wrong. Sometimes it's good to be wrong because it allows us to grow and learn new things about ourselves and other people. So I think for me, it's a matter of, sure, I have my opinions and I have my perspectives and I have no problem sharing them, but I always share it with the openness that I may not be right, that I want to hear what other people have to say. I want to see what's going on for them, what's their perspective, what did things look like on their end of the situation, and just having that willingness to listen, having that willingness to be open to taking in other perspectives, just to have that awareness that there are multiple angles that you can view any situation from, it will lead you to so much more peace and so much more ease in your conversations. Like, I cannot stress this enough. The more that you cling to needing to be right and the more defensive you get and the more that you try to change someone's mind, the more frustrated you're probably going to become, and the more angry you're probably going to become, and the more negativity you're probably going to have to sit in yourself. And like, at the end of the day, who wants to deal with that? Like, I don't want to deal with that. I know you probably, nobody likes feeling that way, of getting all worked up because you're having a conversation with someone and they just refuse to see it from your perspective. They just refuse to acknowledge that you're right. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Why do you need to be right? Sometimes it's a matter of just sharing and being willing to let that person do what they want with whatever it is that you're going to say, and being truly willing to be open to listen and take in whatever they're going to say. Sometimes things don't happen immediately in that moment. Sometimes people need some time and space to like think about things before they really digest it and understand it. So if you're in a heated conversation with someone and you feel like they're not hearing you, just take a moment to be assured if you've said what you wanted to say, that when it's the right time for them to hear it, it'll be there for them. So you just gotta trust the process sometimes. Something else that I think is important to note about this idea of perspective is that our perspectives are a malleable thing. They change and they grow with us. So the more open you are to taking in new information, the more your own perspective can grow with you. The more that you can kind of understand about the world, that definitely will benefit you. So just having that openness and allowing yourself to take in new information and to broaden your perspective of the world really will serve you so much. I mean, let's even think about, like, lots of really terrible things happen, but how many times in life has something happened that wasn't that great, that ultimately down the road ended up changing our lives in the most positive way? And like, how powerful is that perspective of being able to look at something, even something hurtful, even something that in the moment sucks so hard, and knowing that it may end up ultimately serving us. It may not be as bad as we think, that we're not alone, that there are other people going through similar struggles out there that we can reach out to for comfort and for support. And just that ability to shift things around in our minds is so powerful. So I would challenge you guys within the next week to really think about this idea of perspective, to think about how open and how willing you are to let other people in, to take in new information, to try to understand different perspectives, because it really will make a huge difference in your life once you can just start to open up, once you can start to realize that you don't need to know everything, you don't always need to be right, and that even if things are really crappy right now, it may actually be a good thing, and you just gotta trust the process. I would really love to hear your guys' thoughts on this topic. What does perspective mean to you? How does it empower your life? What are some situations that have come up for you where being able to really, truly take someone else's perspective and step out of yourself have served you? Let us know in the comments down below. I would love to start a conversation with you guys. And I hope you'll like this series. I hope you'll find my random ramblings about these kinds of things helpful or inspiring or interesting in some way. If you do, please give this video a thumbs up. I always really appreciate your support. If you guys are curious to learn more about coaching and what I do, I will link my coaching website in the description box of this video if you want to check it out. And I will be back again tomorrow with another beauty video for you guys. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have a wonderful start to your week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.